What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. We got the guest. He's Mike Somich. It's Dennis Trusty across. We got the whole crew here. We are live from Louisville, Kentucky, from the Kentucky Derby, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, everybody?
Hello. How's everybody?
Doing good. I'm excited to be here. First Kentucky Derby, just 2 days away, and I'm excited for the full-on rain experience tomorrow because it is going to freaking pour all day.
Prepare yourselves. Like Saturday still seems iffy. Like we might at least have not rain. It might be track. Who knows? But tomorrow seems like a lock. The lock of the day tomorrow is the rain is about to settle in here in Louisville.
You're a local, Dennis. We're screwed, right? For tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know those nice shoes? You know those nice shoes y'all have? Yeah, y'all need to, make sure that you get the rental pack on that.
Halterman brought all his nice stuff. He'll end up wearing tennis shoes and shorts tomorrow just so he stays dry. But hey, no, listen, you buy stuff to get ruined. Last time we were here and it rained, Halterman's suit turned purple, and I think it stayed here, didn't it?
No, I brought it back. It's the Justify suit. We won a lot of money, so it's hanging up in the closet. But I
figured it'd be on your wall, with Justify suit.
It was a beautiful new brown suit. I mean, It was beautiful, and it was all pink by the time it was over.
You could definitely tell the quality was there with how it turned colors with the rain.
I'm not sure if I could buy beautiful brown suits. That's not commonly said to
fair.
Yeah.
Well, anything that brings you guys to Kentucky? Any sightseeing or what's the deal?
Just see Dennis.
Oh yeah, Dennis. Yeah, go to Roosters.
I'm really excited about the airplanes that are out the window.
Oh my gosh, we're right by the airport, and the planes are right out the window, guys.
One of us is really excited.
One of us is.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
Kentucky Derby 148 Saturday. Of course, we'll kick things off though with tomorrow, Friday, with what seems to be. Like we talked about, a little bit of a bog, and it will be the Kentucky Oaks in both races. Obviously you're going to have a large field in the Derby, but the Oaks drew a huge field, a full field, and it's competitive, and it seems like one of the better Oaks we've seen in many years. So we're going to go through these both these races in detail, kind of give our final thoughts of final picks. We're going to put everyone on the spot for final picks. Of course, if you want more information, you want Somich's top? Anyone on this? Sorry, not you, Dennis. Maybe one day.
When you said put you on the spot, can I leave?
Maybe one day. We'll let you give your top four if you'd like on here.
Absolutely.
But if you want Somich, myself, and Halterman's top four, of course, go get the wagering guide at racingdudes.com. Somich has got Somobombs available currently already for Friday as well, so go hit that up. But we're going to give a breakdown analysis of each of these stakes. Of course, the two biggest races of the weekend, the Oaks and the Derby. And depending on how tomorrow goes, we might be back on to talk about how the day went.
I think we're going to be on no matter what.
Well, I just want to, if Kathleen O wins.
Okay, but it's going to be great content. We have to be on.
Yeah.
Kathleen O wins. We're going to all be sauced, and it'll be fun. And if she loses, we'll all be mad, and that'll be fun.
Yeah. You mean we'll all be sauced, and that'll be fun. Pretty much both ways. We're going. No, I'm excited to talk tomorrow, too. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the track plays and what races stay on the turf tomorrow if it does rain all night, and then how that turf course actually plays. They're going to want to keep the stakes on for Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of what we get for on the turf, off the turf. Try and keep these fields as big as possible. There's a ton of pick five sequences tomorrow. So their goal is going to be trying to make sure those are the best possible. So it'll be interesting to see what stays on and off and how the turf plays.
Well, a question, I guess, because like I said, I watch the show all the time, is, I guess, have you all noticed anything about the turf course? Like, is it playing one way or the other, or?
I want speed right now based on what I've seen. It looks like the more forwardly placed you are, the better. But the problem here is that when any course takes rain, either turf or dirt, you almost have to throw out the previous bias you saw because it can drastically change a bias on a track pretty quickly. So like at Saratoga, for instance, you wanted to be closing last year when there's any rain, you wanted to be on the front, the driver got. And so it'll be interesting to see how the rain affects that turf course that we're going to get tonight.
So my prediction on this race 3, it's a turf race. I would definitely handicap that race tonight for off the turf. I don't think there's any chance that's going to be on the turf. And if it is, that's great news. That means we didn't get much at all. Yeah. And then there's only 3 other, I say only because it's a 13 race card. There's only 3 other turf races. They're all stakes. I think they'll try as hard as they can to keep those on. So my prediction is that first one will come off. We may get like a situation where they take the 10th off because they run those 2 other stakes and they're just like, yeah, we can't do this. So that's kind of my prediction on what's going to happen.
They have the rail at 37 feet today too. So maybe what they're going to do is keep the rail out tomorrow and then take the rails down for Saturday, which gives you essentially 2 separate turf courses, even though it's just a single turf course. That forces the first days everyone's outside, and the second day you have that true rail. So they may try and get creative with how they set up the course as well to keep everything on the turf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting how, and of course, how the track is today or tomorrow, Friday, may be completely different on Saturday because then you're going to have a drying track, hopefully, into Saturday, and you're going to wonder how that track continues to dry. And real quickly, Dennis, kind of for anyone new here, tell them about who you are, but also what this like. You maybe give them some insight, like can the track dry fairly quickly here? I mean, are you expecting if it does have a bog? I mean, Saturday could we still see a fast track come post time for the Kentucky Derby?
Well, I'm on Twitter a lot at Dennis_Trusty. I post a lot of pics and stuff out as well. I'm thankful to be on here. Shocked to be on here. But no, to answer your question, I think the dirt dries out pretty quick. The turf, do you remember the year like Newspaper Records won the turf?
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking that, I know it's a new turf course, but maybe some of the same move. You have to be outside. You might have to swing wide. So, but yeah, I think it'll be quickly drying on dirt for sure.
Yeah.
And that's just, I think that's going to be the biggest thing is we got to take this. And that's what we've been telling everyone from everyone talks about rain. You got to take it as it comes here. You don't know. I mean, shit, it poured on us back home in Missouri on our way here yesterday. And, obviously it's all coming this way. It's flooding back home. So you kind of have an idea like, yeah, it's probably heading this way.
You're not going to avoid it with no moisture whatsoever.
And to be clear, the same year when we were at 2018 for the Derby with Justify, they kept saying, "Oh, it's it'll be done. It's going to rain in the morning. It'll be done." It rained all day.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Yeah. Big key is when does it stop tomorrow, right? Because pretty much it's 80% all the way through tomorrow. So the question, when does it stop? Because it's not supposed to be Saturday right now. So if it stops early enough on Friday, maybe we can get lucky. Maybe it starts drying out. The turf course, Dennis mentioned that it's new this year. Specifically, it's lifted up. And so what Rob of KY, one of the guys who followed the show for multiple years now, also here mentioned that the inside rail, it seems like on the dirt, hasn't been as good when there's water there because it can't drain down toward the turf course because the turf course is elevated. So look for standing water toward the inside of the track as well. And maybe what we've seen a lot of outside flow this meet already at Churchill. Maybe look for that again on the dirt track.
Sounds like Taba to me.
Well, we'll get to Taba. It really looks like tomorrow, especially. It really set in tomorrow from basically first post to last post. And I mean, I'm not kidding. And then it kind of dies down from about 9 to 10 o'clock. It really comes about 50-50 on terms of rain. And then it's supposed to be done by very early morning, Saturday morning. So ideally we could get a nice, today was nice. It was cloudy, but it was nice. So if we can get that kind of weather for Saturday, that'd be perfect. I can handle that. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
I'll buy that right now.
All right, let's get to today's show because, I mean, you don't want to hear about weather reports on this, right? No one gives a shit about weather reports. What the weather reports? Okay. Today's show, we're going to preview and give picks for Saturday's $3 million Kentucky Derby and Friday's $1.25 million Longines Kentucky Oaks. Live, of course, from Louisville at Churchill Downs. Let's go. All right, let's start with the Oaks. Let's pull this up. Yeah, give us your thoughts. Obviously, comments. We'll try to answer those as we go through here. Kick things off again with the Oaks being that it's Friday.
DRF does not have rail situations yet up for turf tomorrow. So there's no 24 feet, 32 feet, anything like that.
Mike Paradise says, bring back John White. I agree, Mike.
Yeah, just have him replace me, please.
I'll call him up real quick.
There's no real quick with John White.
That is true. Yeah, he would definitely come on for sure. Though. Maybe Saturday or Friday before we're done.
Or Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Either one.
John was awesome. If you don't know that,
He was
if you don't know that reference, you need to make sure you, after you watch this, go to your YouTube and look for the John White interview. Of course, we do that every year with John, and I know even me personally, I don't lock in a bet or a thought until I've talked to John on what his final thoughts are for the Derby. Because, like I said in the opening, it was kind of a joke, but it's true. I mean, he knows more, and he's been in the game more than most people have been alive that are watching and listening to this. So you got to at least see that. Yeah, Jared, John might pop in, like he might be, because he listens to most of our shows. He listens to a lot of them live. There's a chance that John would just be like, no, actually, this is what. And the fun story behind that is, we were wrapping it up and we see John in the background. And the program we use, you can see people out of the picture, or at least not on the show, underneath us. You see him down there kind of going like this, waving. And you're like, uh-oh, here we go. John's got something to say. So yeah, it was pretty good stuff.
We are incredibly blessed that we got to meet him, and I would say he helped shape the site, whether he knows it or not, right? Like just the knowledge and what you saw in that interview. That's 8 hours at our favorite restaurant, Matt Denny's, next to Santa Anita. Every time we go, every time we go to California, he's like, all right, dude, it's 5 o'clock. I was like, all right, we'll be there,
Gotta start early if you can
That's
go late.
25 minutes after the last race. Like, all right, yep. We've got it down to the nose. How do we get there and how quick? So.
The Flamingo race, yeah, that was awesome.
That was unbelievable.
And then Mike says, I love when the doorbell rings. Like, I know, right? Like, I was like, well, surely Tracy, his wife, is going to answer that for him. No. He's like, hang on, guys.
Like, wait a second.
You realize we're recording this live.
Somebody's at the door.
And he showed us what he got. I loved it. John's the man. All right, let's get to the.
We can talk about him all day.
So. Let's get to the main event on Friday. Of course, this is race 11, the Longines Kentucky Oaks, Grade 1. $1.25 million. Fillies 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 miles. It is a full field, like I mentioned. You've got 14 horses in the gate. You got one also eligible there, and you have what we talked about and we harped on for the whole opening. Got the weather situation. How these horses think you can officially start handicapping this with the idea that who's going to enjoy the slop, how that's going to affect the race. You've got Nest, and you've got, I think it seems like you got a pretty heavy hitters in terms of the top end. You've got Kathleen O, you've got Echo Zulu, you got Nest, you've got Secret Oath in there. That seems to be very logical heavy hitters, but the problem is coming up with the winner. I'll kick it to you first, Somich. I know you love a horse in here, but give us your thoughts, and if the weather is going to change any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on Kathleen O since the Devona Dale. I've loved this horse for a long time. Really professional, doesn't need the lead, is able to, essentially went 3 or 4 wide in both turns at Gulfstream. It's tough to win when you're doing that. And both times did it just because she was flat out the best horse. If you watch her last race back in the Florida Oaks, she looked dominant. She was 4 wide on the first turn, 3 wide on the second turn, got tapped once by Castellano, and just galloped out easily. We have not seen the bottom of Kathleen O yet. It's one of the reasons I really like her coming into this, because everyone else, we've seen them run their best race, and Kathleen O has kind of been prepping toward that. The rain scares me a little, I'll be honest. Upstart, not the best off-track sire, and the main competition, and the horse who I think is probably the most likely horse to run second, is Nest. You know who's a really good off-track sire? Curlin. So if you're talking about who the rain upgrades, Nest is definitely one of those horses in this field that the rain helps out. I'm not sure if it's going to help out enough for me to switch my pick, especially since I think Nest is going to be the favorite in this race. And I do think at worst, Kathleen O and Nest should be the same price. So from a price perspective, I think you're going to get a better number on Kathleen O. And I've been on her long enough that rain probably isn't going to affect it. Now, if this is just an all-out bog, it's going to get a little more concerning for me. But I'm going to lean towards sticking with Kathleen O. And my pick is going to be Kathleen O on top here, because I trust her from just a talent perspective. I don't think we've seen the bottom yet, and for me, that's a big part of why I like her.
Well, and to your point, she is somewhat concerning just based off her running style. Because when you have a horse that likes to kind of close and come out of it, the mud, especially when they're younger, can create some issues where they're not maybe used to, she's been running at Gulfstream Park, had, not going to be seeing a lot of mud at Gulfstream. So, that is the concern. When you have a speed horse, near the lead, even if it's muddy, you're like, well, they could probably skip over that. That is at least the concern.
It definitely is. I would say the one nice fact about Kathleen O is she's one of the few horses that has won in the mud in this field. So if you go back to her debut, she won at 7 furlongs at Aqueduct. And not only she won, she was last place in that race, 10 lengths back at the half-mile point, and had a massive turn of foot. And it's one of the reasons I like her. She almost has a turf horse's turn of foot coming down the lane where she has this acceleration when she needs to. And we saw her go from 6th place at the quarter pole to getting up and win that race in her maiden breaking debut. So success over the mud, success closing over the mud, especially at Aqueduct, which generally is a track where you need to be forwardly placed when it's sloppy or muddy there. So I'm like I said, I think the rain helps Ness more, but it's not enough to get me off Kathleen O.
Alterman, I know you like this horse as well.
Yeah, I can't.
Give
Guys, I can't go against her. I'm like Somich, so I am a little bit worried. The pedigree for Ness certainly helps, but I think more than anything, it's that is this track going to be speed favoring? We see that a lot on the dirt when it rains a lot, and that's what I'm worried about. Ness is a really nice horse, is a little bit more versatile. I mean, as far as she can sit closer to the pace, obviously. And Kathleen O is a one-dimensional type. The more I watch her, she reminds me of Blind Luck, the horse that won this race. Geez, I can't remember the year now. It's been a long time, but she runs a lot like Blind Luck does. And I was on her that day. I always liked her. And then I went back and watched all the replays of Kathleen O as I was handicapping. I was like, man, this horse just brings it every time. And Somich, you kind of alluded to it. The way they built this horse up is really fascinating because she was running in those one-turn races. I was like, this is not really a one-turn horse, and she was still winning. And then you see it, no matter what speed figure you look at, Thoroughgraph, Beyer, time form, the jump when she finally went 2 turns was fantastic. And it's looked like we have multiple gears now that we're getting by horses. Now we're going longer. This guy, Shug McGahee, one of the best trainers of all time, he's built this horse up perfectly for this race. It's just going to be, does the track hinder her? We don't know that, but I think she's going to fire. Ness is a really good horse. Hopefully she can run her down for, all of our sakes. I don't know. You're on Kathleen O as well. So Dennis, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I guess.
I'm on the O as well.
Yep.
But I mean, the points you all brought up about the slop and the way the track has been playing over the past week, it's been heavy on speed favoring and quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of makes me want to say, oh no.
Yeah.
But I'm still on the horse with you guys on it for a long time. I still like Secret Oath. There's nothing wrong with her, I don't think. Echo Zulu, defending champ, 4-1, sure. Yeah. I'm just trying to beat Ness, but I'm still going to use Ness. So
I will say that first of all, let me say that you mentioned this, Halterman. I wanted to touch. Kathleen O, a 78 buyer in that first stake she ran, an 85 buyer in the Bonadell, jumps to a 98 in the Gulfstream. Okay, I like Thoroughs. I use Thoroughs a lot. Got back-to-back 5s in those first 2 stakes races. She got a 0, which is the low of the field in the Gulfstream Park Oaks once she stretched out. So you definitely know, like, oh, that's what she is. And so to me, that's what put me over the edge when I started looking at the numbers and seeing that improvement from the 1 turn to 2, because obviously the way she runs, she's going to be better stretching out.
Yeah.
Well, what's an angle that we always talk about? Second time going long, the horse usually runs its best race or its most improved race.
Right.
Here she is in the biggest race. She's already running very well. Logically, she might improve tomorrow.
And the biggest concern that you're going to hear from people are, well, that's a huge buyer jump. That's a huge jump on the Thoroughs.
Yeah.
She's going to bounce. Go back and watch the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Yeah.
She didn't try. Like, that's the thing.
No.
You have to empty the tank to bounce. And that's why I'm not scared of that bounce part of it. What I am scared of is the pace. And we've talked about how Churchill can be a speed favoring track. You've got Echo Zulu. She went wire to wire in the Breeders' Cup last year for the 2-year-old fillies. There's one real pace presence right to her inside, Yuri Guri.
Yeah.
Do we think they both go? Do we think this is something where Echo Zulu clears and that forces Yuri Guri to just sit, and all of a sudden you have this comfortable pace for Echo Zulu? We talked about Ness a little bit. Echo Zulu, could she just wire this field? Are we trying to get too cute here?
And it's a loose on the leader that's never lost and is a 2-year-old champion as well. So.
Never lost a race.
Yeah.
To that, I just say yes and yes because I do think the 6 has to push in this position. But if she's just not good enough to go with her, then she's going to be on the lone lead. So
Now let's remember, she was on a lone lead last time and almost got beat. So that's the thing. If you like Kathleen O or even Nest, she's going to have to run a lot better than she did last time, or she's going to be 8th in this race.
Well, how much of that do you consider was the layoff?
Oh, sure. A lot of it. Yeah.
She's definitely eligible to improve, and frankly, she should improve. The big thing for me was, because I was on, and then we start seeing the weather, like, I told Halterman this the other day, I was like, you kind of have this feeling that, like, Echo Zulu go out there and win, does gate to wire, and you're like, that was the definition of getting too cute there. She's done nothing but do that every race, and like class, it's like you could see that happening. It wouldn't be totally shocking. But then I started looking through her numbers, and frankly, she just, and we'll get to Epicenter a little bit, but it's a little comparable to Epicenter in a sense that I just don't know that she's quite fast enough. I text Halterman, I text you guys right after the, what was it, the Rachel Alexander, or what was it, Fairground Oaks, where it was like, thank goodness that was Hidden Connection trying to run her down. Because if it was any other horse, they would have got to her. And now she's like, you could see a situation here where she holds off Secret Oath or whatever, but here comes Kathleen O, and she's just done, now that the dirty work's been done, and now she gets there. So she's going to be up against it. Her thoroughs are not impressive. She ran 4s as a 2-year-old. She came back in that Fairgrounds race and ran a 6, which the higher, the worse. So she obviously, and to Dennis's point, she should, but she got worse from her 2-year-old season to her 3-year-old year. So again, she's definitely eligible to improve, but she's going to have to improve us from a 6 to a 0 basically in order to compete here. Secret Oath, if you want to, like, she runs 1s. I mean, she ran a 3 in the Arkansas Derby, but she's been running 1s. That's kind of her. So that's still another horse that Echo Zulu is going to have to hold off that I think might be faster.
Yep, I agree.
I wouldn't be shocked if Hidden Connection sets here too.
Yeah,
the 3 post. I just because you have the inside speed there, and we think about Hidden Connection, and you've got the race 2 back at Fairgrounds where you had LaCrate on the lead, and LaCrate pretty much took Hidden Connection out of the race. Hidden Connection doesn't really break in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies at Del Mar. I wouldn't be shocked if you see Hidden Connection out there trying to shove from that inside post and seeing if they can get position, because I don't know if they want to chase down Echo Zulu again. And I don't know if they definitely don't want to try and do it if they have to end up swinging 3 wide, getting a bunch of kickback in their face, and have Yuri hopefully press the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say that point too, but you saw.
Well, with Hidden Connection too, they've had all kinds of excuses, right? So to me, you take it all away, rush out of there, get past the 1 and the 2, which shouldn't be that hard. Get to the rail, get to the lead, and let her go. If she's good enough, she'll win it. Right?
Well, so, in my mind too, is it kind of worries me if she just hangs on for 3rd. It's the way I play with Zach to try, and I know Somich does too. She could hang on for 3rd if Dear Life comes onto it, and let's say Nest or Kathleen O doesn't like the slop at this point. She could hang on for 3rd. It kind of worries me.
Yeah, I can see it.
So who's a horse that, because it's just things get nutty. And someone asked earlier, like, kind of what you might be looking for earlier in the day in terms of how the track's playing versus and how that might affect this race for you. But also to that point, let's pretend that we do see some crazy results in some races earlier. And, what horse in this race that is going to be a healthy price could definitely move up and win this thing. Like if, like Dennis says, Nest doesn't like it and Kathleen O hates it or whatever it is, like it's definitely a kind of race where you could see a huge upset if some of these big contenders don't like the slot.
I'll give you 2 that I'm kind of thinking of right now. The first one is Goddess of Fire, the 5 horse, and I think that's self-explanatory. If we're all over Nest, if we're all over Kathleen O, if we're all over Kathleen O, Goddess of Fire was 2nd in that race. She ran pretty well. If Kathleen O doesn't fire, Goddess of Fire does fire, we could see this horse really be competitive at a big price. Another one, and this is one I kind of wanted to put on a ticket. I just never could really work her in. The 9 Desert Dawn. Let's think about this one for a second. All right. She beats Adari Manor last time out. Everybody was like, Adari Manor's going to win this thing, right? She's a Oaks favorite. Well, Desert Dawn wins, beats her fair and square. Now she's sitting here at 20-1. Again, I didn't put her on tickets. I couldn't find a way to do it within the sequences or on bottoms or supers. I like other horses better, but she does kind of scare me a little bit. I think she's more talented than 20-1.
Yeah, Cupid likes to stop. That's the Sun Tap It. Obviously, that's a good bloodline for the off track. So you also third off the layoff, which I think is interesting for Desert Dawn. We talk a lot about the logical progression you're trying to use from a trainer's perspective. They want to run these races third off the layoff, and I know a couple people in the chat brought up Echo Zulu here second off the layoff instead of third. It's interesting that we didn't see her earlier, and she kind of built up a little more stamina before trying to win this race. I'm not a big fan of Desert Dawn. I get why. Like if we have a nice improvement here, I can see why that logical step up could happen. But for me, Desert Dawn was just a little tough to find. I agree with you on Goddess of Fire. That's another one where if we see a progression off the last race, she fits here if some of the speed comes back. I think the 2 is a little interesting, nostalgic. If you're going over and off track, it's a Magla de Oro horse out of a Tappet mare that's bred top and bottom to enjoy the slop. So I think nostalgia could do something. I don't love her, but she's one of those I think could kind of come up and hit the 3rd or 4th spot if you're playing tries or supers, and you can get a decent price for it.
What about Magic? Poor Magic, he's not here. But what about Magic's horse, Shahama? Getting Todd Pletcher first start with, and then get Pratt aboard. That's some interesting angles there.
Well, and Munnings, if we're talking off track,
who won on a sloppy track 3 back at Medan.
Yeah, I mean Munnings, man. Do they have sloppy tracks in Medan?
Apparently they do.
Yeah,
I didn't know it rained. Apparently they have a guy out there with a hose that waters it every once in a while just to make it interesting.
I think Shahama is interesting. The biggest knock on these horses when they come over internationally is they don't break.
Yeah.
Todd Pletcher, pretty good at getting horses to break first time in his barn. So, if they can get past the no breaking issue, I think Shahama gets a lot more interesting from that perspective. Although, again, these UAE horses have in the past really struggled in both these races.
This will be a good segue into, before we get our final picks for this race, a good segue into the Derby. I know in particular the bankroll, we're doing it in the bankroll and the wagering guide to see how Halter and I are playing exactly on Friday and Saturday. I know you're a huge advocate of you kill anyone that says that they don't want to play the Oaks Derby double. So give us some thoughts on the Oaks Derby double, how that might be, how that might be able to make some money. It made money last year. It's a great way to press both your opinions in both races.
Yeah, I mean, rarely do you have 14 and 20 horse fields with a ton of dead money being thrown into a pool. And that is exactly what you have on Oaks and Derby Day. There's so many $2 wagers with, I like the number 4.
Right.
My son's named Jack. That happens so much on these 2 days that it raises up the value of almost every other horse in both of these fields. Now, I'm not saying you should be playing 5 by 5 because then you're really cutting into your own value. But look, if you got $20 in your pocket and you're going to bet one thing all day on tomorrow, the Oaks Derby double may be the best thing that you could bet. So in my mind, if you want to have an opinion either, and you say, I'm going to go 2 by 1 or 1 by 2 or 3 by 1 or 1 by 3, I think that is a great way to spend your money on Oaks Day because you're going to see some monster payouts. I mean, if the morning lines hold, my top picks will project to pay 50-1 in the Oaks Derby double. I mean, that's wild. Mm-hmm. And that's just, and I'm playing Kathleen O 7-2. And I'm taking the 4th choice in the Derby. It's not like I'm getting crazy here. Yeah. How often can you say I have a logical daily double that pays 50-1?
You can't, right?
No, not really.
and it allows you, like you're saying, it allows you to have an opinion that's not outlandish and make 50-1, or even it gets down to 30-1. It's like, really, 30-1 on Kathleen O and whoever, in the Derby? That's nuts.
It would be unbelievable. That's the dream, right?
So to that point, let's give our Oaks picks here.
Okay.
So Halterman, I'll start with you.
Sure.
We know who it is.
I think it's the only choice for me is Kathleen O. I really didn't consider anybody else but Nest. I'm just banking on the fact that Echo Zulu came back and it's just not quite as good. Got caught up with a little bit by a very deep crop, what this ended up being, where the crop as 2-year-olds maybe wasn't that great. Not trying to take a ton away from her, just got to go against her. I don't think she's going to win this race tomorrow. So going against her, I never really thought about Secret Oath. When she lost to Barbara Road, that was kind of the end of it for me. And then
Barbara Road is stable. It's like, what did I do?
Poor Barbara Road.
Oh,
Shotty's not gonna like that.
Yeah.
Shotty, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Shotty's house flooded, and you're still taking shots at
But
Barbara
listen,
We're
Road.
not even talking about the Derby in Barbara
Yeah.
Road.
Shotty, he heard that from his barn just down the road.
Yeah, he is just right over there, and he does have supersonic hearing to make up for his slow feet. But Kathleen O, all the way for me. I really didn't consider anybody else but Ness. I just think this horse is really special. I love Shug McGahee, and like I said, I think he has trained this horse perfectly for this race. Kathleen O, all the way for me.
Dennis.
Okay, first of all, Barbara Road, I take offense to that.
Yeah, I know. Your girl
Yeah.
Shotty's on here too.
Oh,
She's
whatever.
upset. So.
He's not my top pick, but yeah. No, in the Oaks, I mean, only other horse I could even consider is Echo Zulu, just, because she is defending reigning champ. I mean, said that like she won the Oaks last year, but
She is a champion.
Yeah.
She is a champion,
Right.
and she's the only champion of this race.
But yeah, so that's probably the top two I have. I think it's a case of where you could beat one of these top four, you could beat two of them, but I don't think you're going to beat all four of them,
Right.
especially in multi-sequence, like you said, Oaks Derby Double. So
Because, like you say, even if Echo Zulu runs a magnificent race and is able to hold off, let's say she holds off Kathleen O, Nest, here's Nest, or vice versa. Like, it just seems like you could see Echo Zulu, because she is very, very talented doing that, but holding off multiple horses, multiple shots, because that's what it's going to take, seems tough. So who's your pick?
Oh,
Play it again.
Yeah. W shit. All right. Somich, what do you got?
It's WWE.
Okay.
She's
no,
WWE.
that's terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry.
that's trash.
Just slander, Jared.
Yes.
I'll stay on your side. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know the difference. So
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I had no clue what's
No
going
clue.
on here. Yeah, look, this is Kathleen O for me. I've been on Kathleen O since the Devona Dale. I'm not going to change my opinion now. I think she's the most talented horse in this field. I think she's going to love the added distance. I think she's going to get enough of a setup to be able to get the job done. I think Dennis made a good point. I think this race is unlikely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave it on that
Yeah.
note.
I think this race is one of the least likely races to produce a 10-1+ winner. I really think that if it's not Kathleen O, I would say it's Ness. If it's not Ness, the winner, I think, is either Secret Oath or Echo Zulu. I don't see one of those four horses not winning this race. I'm just going to use Ness and Kathleen O in multi-race bets. I think they're clearly the class of this field. I'm probably going to try and beat Secret Oath and Echo Zulu underneath, just to try and spice up the try and the super. But for me, Kathleen O is a standout here. I'm going to single her in the Oaks Derby Double as well.
We love it. Single. I like Kathleen O as well. To be honest, I was less on the Kathleen O bandwagon until I even dove into the replays. I kind of Nest, like, okay, and even Secret Oath at one point you thought. But when you watch you look at the numbers and you just visually watch her, it's like we even scratch the bottom of the barrel with Kathleen O. So to me, the weather does give me some pause, but she's a pick. And I don't think she can win Secret Oath, but I have a sneaky feeling that she's going to run like a similar race that she ran in the Arkansas Derby. Only a better ride this time. Lisa is obviously you're getting slight improvement there.
Do you think she'll give you a scare, like
Yes.
mid-stretch? Do you think she's going to take over?
Yeah.
And you're like,
I don't know, but I don't know if she's going to take over. But I think
get the lead. I mean,
no, I don't think she'll
okay.
take. But I do think you'll be like, here she comes, and I think she might prove to be not quite good enough.
Yeah.
But I personally would like to use her in my. I'm not going to use her in the win spots. I'm not going to play her in the Oaks Derby Double. But I think she could get up there for second or third. And if she won, I'll let her beat me. But I wouldn't be surprised to see her run a big race.
Big jockey upgrade too there.
Oh.
Especially off the trip in the Arkansas Derby.
That trip, I mean, all kidding aside, that was a horrendous trip. I agree.
They are both named Luis, though.
Yeah.
Well, are they brothers?
Just
Is that how that
another.
works?
That is how it works.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It's the last name.
Oh, well, that explains.
See,
why
you learned-
one is
you learned-
plural and one is not. Okay.
You learned so much on Linkers Off.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
It's the last names, yeah. It's not the first names.
Look at the Ortiz brothers, not the
Oh,
Luis
yeah.
brothers.
So they are brothers. The
Oh.
Ortiz- oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Breaking news.
Jose
Wait,
Irad
wow.
related.
Yeah.
That's the headline for the
Colby and Brian
podcast.
Hernandez, too. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, there you go. They're brothers too. Huh. Well, anyway, Luis Saez and Luis Contreras are not.
All right, so you have a full table here, all the Oak. Kathleen O to win the Oaks.
Nothing can go wrong there.
Should I just pick somebody different just to?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the guest, and I'll
Pick
take
Ness.
Echo Zulu.
Okay, Echo Zulu. Dennis changed it to Echo Zulu, so that fixes everything. Let's go to Saturday. Let's go to Saturday. Okay, so we've cashed in on Kathleen O. We had a great Friday. Our clothes are still drying, but we had a great day. So now we're on to Saturday. Hopefully the rain is done, and we're on to race 12, which of course is the Grade 1 $3 million Kentucky Derby for 3-year-olds going a mile and a quarter. This is it. Field of 20. This is what we've been waiting for all year long, and it's finally here. And we were gifted these amazing morning line odds for the horses that we like in this race. And it's created this whole new, like, okay, even if this horse does get bet, it's still a very playable price. So you got 20 horses. I guess we'll just start with, what do you want to, I mean, how do you start with this? You know, just who you like, how the pace is going to be. Do you expect this race to be ran on a fast track? Where do you want to go with this one?
I mean, I think we just have to go with, you know, Dennis, we talked about it when we were eating today. The odds totally kind of just made it to where it's like, we kind of got to play these California horses because these prices are ridiculous, right? I mean, I think all of us, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Everyone's 10-1. Who are you betting?
Tava.
So the odds don't really, like, think about that for like, so you almost feel like the favorite should be
Tava.
So the odds, I agree with you, they forced you to bet that direction. But I think we both agree the most talented horses in here aren't the favorites.
Okay, so maybe I should say it made the decision easier.
There you go.
Or easy, just, and that's the word. Because look, and I think if you watch the John White interview, he made so many great points. But the one that really hit home, he's like, if this is a Friday and it's the 5th race at Santa Anita, and you give us what you see on paper here, and you say, oh, I like this horse right here that's had back-to-back triple-digit buyers, something that nobody else has done, has the highest speed figures in the race, and the horse is the 4th choice on the morning line, you'd have to be a lunatic not to play the horse. So why are we going to do anything different here? And I kind of will piggyback off that. He didn't say this, but I'll go ahead and say it. You don't know that this horse isn't going to show up just because it's his 3rd race. You don't know who's going to show up in any race ever. That's what makes this game difficult. If they all ran to their form every single time, we'd all be winners, right? It wouldn't be that hard. Listen, Zandon could not show up, right? Maybe he bounces off of that race. Could. You know, maybe he's training too good and he's ran his race on the track in workouts. You don't know that, you know? So I'm not really worried about the horse showing up or not. I'm going to worry that if he does show up, the other 19 horses that I would have bet are screwed. So I'm going to go the horse I think is the most talented and the fastest, easy enough, Tava.
It's interesting. He's taking money internationally. So he's down to 6-1 now overseas. So from that 12-1 morning line, it was down to 10-1, then down to 8-1, down to 6-1. So I think your opinion is going to be shared quite a bit on Derby Day.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're right.
That's the problem. You're dreaming if you think you're going to get 12-1 on them. You're not. I kind of thought you'd bet down a cut in half. Like that's pretty close, 6-1, 8-1. Because you also have to think, obviously Zandon is going to be lower. Epicenter will be lower. Maybe I could see Messier floating north, and Tava going off as the, what are we calling it? Baftine? Yaffords.
Yeah.
What are the Yaffords, right?
There's all kinds, but we're Yafford.
We're Yafford.
We're Yafford.
I can see the Yafford,
No, we're not.
the Yafford crew.
Well, we're Yafford name people. Yes. Great point. Yeah.
I can see Tava being the lower priced horse at post time.
Yeah. For sure.
And honestly, I thought that's kind of, I thought that's how the morning line would go. What you got here?
Florida's up 5-1.
Oh, by the way.
the Rangers up 42. Oh.
By the way, that's our sign.
Well, it's interesting because I expect that you're going to be right. I was surprised that Messier was favored over Tava in the morning line. And honestly, like the morning line, I think is a little funky here. Even the morning line, the person who set the morning line came out and said didn't want to set anyone at 50-1, which really makes it tough to set the rest of the morning line if you're not setting a true odds for horses that should be 50-1 in this race. And there are at least 5 of them, right? So that really messes up what the odds are. One thing that I would stress, I don't like anyone, even Tava, at 4-1 in this race. I think that's almost too low for any horse in here, and that's what really pushes me away from Epicenter and from Zandon, two of the horses that are going to go off at sub 4-1 in this spot.
Well, to that point, two things I'll say is, one, is it even really a morning line? I mean, if you say, well, I don't want to set them at 50-1, well, too bad. 50-1. And number two is, as of right now on the morning line, basically Zandon is half up, well, a tenth of an odd lower than, or higher than American Pharoah and Justified. Are we really saying this? Like, that's not.
Yeah, I tweeted that out right after the morning line. I was like, that's nutty. You can't. I get Zandon looks great, and I agree. I mean, he's moved up on my rankings dramatically, but to put him at 3-1, you'd have to be crazy to play him at 3-1. And I get, like, people don't understand, like, oh, you don't think he's going to win? He could win. I'm just saying from a value perspective, and also based on what else is in this race, to play him at 3-1 is crazy.
It's tough. I mean, it's one of those spots where you got to love the horse. I would much rather play Zandon in the Oaks Derby double. I would try and play him.
That's fair.
To single him to close a pick 4. Like, look for other ways to play him. The win bet here, I think, is just it's a tough spot. Even playing him like bulleted on top of the super, I could totally understand that as well, because then you can spread underneath. And that's a great way to create value around a horse that's probably too short on top from a win bet perspective. But there's other ways to bet Zandon that, to me, are much more attractive if you really like the horse.
You could make worse bets than Zandon to win, but you could make a lot better. That's the thing. Like, does he have the talent to win? Yeah. Sure he does, but you just need to demand a little bit more on a horse that's won one race this year. And by the way, this is something on the long drive we had that we discussed. Everybody's like, oh, Taba, he only's got 2 races. Zandon has 2 races this year, right? So when you look at just this year, they have the same amount of races. And you look back at when the horse started working, about the same time period, these horses started working. Now, obviously, Zandon had the 2 races, and listen, if Taba had 2 races as a 2-year-old, he'd probably be 5-2, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, but look, I don't think Zandon has that much more, foundation than Taba, really. So why are we playing this horse at 3-1? Now, if it's Epicenter, it's like, okay, he checks every single box, right? So, if you want to, I mean, I still wouldn't take 3-1 on him, but I think he's like the deserving favorite here.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Zandon stuff.
Well, the thing with Zandon is he was visually very impressive winning last time out. And he did it against a field of 10, which is the knock on the California horses, right? Coming out of field of 6, which, you can only run against the horses who sign up. So but like Zandon looked very impressive, and Pratt gave him a beautiful ride. Pratt had a great ride. I think it was the last race yesterday where it was that exact same rail trip, flip out to the 3-path, get the horse home. So you're going to you think that he is going to be one of those jockeys that's going to get you a better trip. And that's, Mo Donegal, the other horse we got to talk about at some point. You got Irad Up, another horse that's going to need to get the perfect trip and be able to weave through traffic. So I get the Zandon thing. I understand why the buzz is there, because he's also been working out of his skin. And it's Pratt and Brown. I realize Brown hasn't won a Derby, but people bet Pratt and Brown, and that's a good set of connections for a race like this.
He looks, he's bumped up to into my top 4 based off how he's looked on the track this week and the last couple of weeks, frankly. But no, I wanted to bring a point here from Kevin O. He asked about White Abario. We'll talk about him a little bit. White Abario did not get a negative -2 thoroughbred. He the only horse in the field that's hit a negative is Taba, which he got in the Cincinnati Derby at a -0.5. White Abario got a 3, and then he got a 1 in the Florida Derby. So he's very, very much there with these horses. I mean, he's I think he might. I want to say that's second, maybe third. To compare 2.5s back to back for Epicenter, which is kind of shockingly high compared to some of these others based on his price. Messier's had back to back 1.5s. So he's definitely, those were had a little bit of happen. So definitely project that he would run that, or if not better, in that race. Taba got a 2 on debut, then followed that, like I said, with the -0.5. And Zandon got a 2 at the Fairgrounds race, and then got a 1.5 at Keeneland in the Bluegrass. So to put that into all that into, like, they're all kind of together. Taba's very clearly the standout in terms of thoroughs. But Zandon, if you look at his numbers, a 6, a 4, a 2, a 1, he is the horse. And I told this to Halterman, it's like, of all the horses, he's the one I could see making that big bump up to running a negative in this race. So that would require Taba to basically run another San Antonio Derby.
Can you do one? You have the thoroughs up right now.
Yeah.
Can you read off epicenters just real quick?
Well, let me open my White Claw first.
Okay, that's fine. You can do that.
Well,
I'll be patient.
While you pull that up, one more thing on White Barrio that I think is interesting. He went from a 3 to a 1 in the thoroughs. So they're saying that's a significant improvement.
Yeah.
Between those two races, first off layup, second off layup. Visually, time-wise, his first race was significantly more impressive.
Yeah.
We did the interview with the owner. It's up on our YouTube page. It's really interesting to hear him talk about it because track has had White Barrio going 109 for 6 furlongs. That's why that last furlong was slow. He was 4 wide on the first turn and ran 109 and then closed into that fast pace and was able to still get the job done. I underrated that race when I watched it the first time. I underrated it on paper. I went back and watched it after I interviewed the owner. That was a damn good race from White Barrio. Like, I don't think you can discount it. I bumped him up off of that race and after that talk because when you go back and you watch the trip he had, how often do you see Gulfstream horses win going a mile and a quarter, or I'm sorry, mile and an eighth, 4 wide, 4 wide.
Yep.
It doesn't happen.
So a few things. While you looked that up, a few things.
I've got it.
Well, go ahead.
I'm a little chatty, so he's not pulling up right now. But
I've got a thought. But go ahead and read it.
I mean, it's not a book. It's just right here.
Well,
right.
they're hard to go through.
He's a who did you want?
it is 20 horses. It could be.
So to kick off the year, he got a 5, and I believe that's 1/3. 2.5, 2.5.
Okay.
That's his numbers.
Okay.
So he's
low
even
on
as
those numbers.
even as visually as good as he looked in that Louisiana Derby, he didn't improve at all from a thorough number. Although he did show a new dimension. And again, thorough aren't like
end all be all.
yeah, but it gives you a
It's a
kind
data
of
point.
it starts to give you something to start off of and go off of. And I personally use them if I'm like on the fence about a horse, I can't quite decide. Echo Zulu was a great example. I kind of kept going back to her thinking, well, that's crazy. And I looked at her thoroughs and was like, no, I just can't get there. So that's kind of how I use them.
So one thing, understanding the numbers, like all the 3 of the numbers that we've been talking about and how they're different. Thoroughs, they're the one that adds in the ground loss aspect of it. These other numbers do not. And so to your point on White Barrio, I think that is why he got a better thorough, because he lost a ton of ground in that race. And so Thoroughgraph takes that into account. It's not the only thing, but that is a number that factors that in. And that's important to understand because time form does not, and buyers, they do not either. So I think for Thoroughgraph, you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at it. He got some extra points there because he was, like Tommy said, it was a very wide trip all the way around there. Somebody mentioned Kathleen O, and her time form was kind of low. If you study time forms a lot of times I see closers don't get great time forms a lot of times because time forms rely a lot on pace, right? The pace numbers really kind of juice up the time form. So if you're fast early, usually you get a little bit better time form. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. If a closer is a couple, 2 or 3 points behind a speed horse on time form, I wouldn't make a huge deal out of it because they tend to lean towards making higher speed figures for those horses that have that early speed. And then finally, with just buyers, it's just basically raw time minus track variance. There's your buyer. So that's kind of, I just wanted to break down. We're throwing out a lot of numbers. That's kind of how they're formulated.
And especially the time form numbers, the pace isn't that fast up front. The closer gets dinged even more. And that's why a lot of times, like if you're looking for a good long shot, horses that have that early speed and then they end up fading to 9th, they get a terrible buyer. The time form's not that bad, and they come back against worse, and they're able to wire the field.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of different ways you can look at these different numbers to try and find horses that are going to fit into a specific race.
Well, that's how like you buyer, the winner is always going to have the highest buyer, and then the second gets, it's always going to go in that order. Whereas it's not unlikely to have, or unusual, I guess, to have a Thoroughgraph that the loser had a higher or a lower thorough than the winner, because it's and same with time form, because it's just it takes more into account, and that's why, and that's what John White, who has really leaned on thorows lately, that's kind of his point, is like it takes more into account of the race versus just because the one thing we kept going back to when we were looking at this race and when we interviewed him, it's like, okay, let's look at Epicenter and look at his buyers. If you look at Epicenter and his buyers, he ran a 102 in the Louisiana Derby. He ran a 98 in the Risen Star. Taba ran a 102 in the San Antonio Derby. He ran a 103 on debut. He regressed. Epicenter improved.
Yeah.
Well, by buyers,
By
he
buyers,
regressed.
Yeah.
So the point is, and they both ran the same buyer. He got a negative thorough, negative half thorough. Epicenter got a 2.5. That's like 10 buyer points.
Right.
So that's kind of the point when you look at that and you say, well, Epicenter, you look at Byers, gosh, he's improving. Well, he didn't on Thoroughs. And in fact, the horse that had the same buyer in his race got much like a 10-point buyer difference. So that you kind of, to me, you have to look at all those numbers and kind of take all of them into account.
Well, and that's why it's important to know, like I said, what goes into each number, kind of like I was trying to explain. And two, don't take one number as the end all be all, right? Like buyers are a great thing. You know, even John White on the interview said, listen, what Andy Byer did for horse racing is revolutionary, that you can never take that away from him. But here's the deal. There are more companies out there, more individuals or companies, either one, however you want to look at it, that said, okay, yeah, these buyers are great. Here's how we make them better. And that's kind of what Timeforms tried to do, what Thoroughgraph, the rag sheets, you can go on. There's other obscure ones. But anyway, that's kind of the deal.
So. All right. So let's do it this way. They break. They come out of the gate. Let's assume a normal break. Everyone breaks semi-cleanly. How do we see this race unfolding? Who goes? Does Mike send Taba? Does Classic Causeway send all the way from the outside? They're near the outside. What is Summers Tomorrow going to do? How do you? I know Somich, you kind of did some pace analysis. Of course, you did that with Slim, which everyone needs to go check out on our YouTube page as well. Kind of, how do you envision this thing going early in this race?
I mean, Classic Causeway has no choice from the 17, right? I mean, I think that's the first thing that you got to just say, okay, Classic Causeway is broken like a shot in all three of the prep races. So you can't assume there's going to be any type of trouble for Classic Causeway. So you got to assume he's going to the front. He is naturally the fastest horse and the best breaker in the field. So Classic Causeway is going. Summers Tomorrow is the wild card. Summers Tomorrow has enough speed to get there. The first time this horse did not run in a sprint race was in the UAE Derby. So everything else was going 6 furlongs or 7 furlongs. So that Summers Tomorrow has enough speed to go out there. The question for me is, does Summers Tomorrow break? And then what happens when Summers Tomorrow is faced with all of those different issues that the 20-horse field with a big crowd? What does how does that affect Summers Tomorrow? Consistently, we've seen UAE Derby horses be affected by all these other elements. I think Classic Causeway breaks and clears. I think Summers Tomorrow probably has a little bit of trouble. And if that happens, I think there's a lot of horses that would be really happy to sit second, third, or fourth. And I think we see a quick opening quarter, because you're going to run a quick opening quarter from the 17 hole. But that second quarter could be pretty slow, because no one's going to want to pass Classic Causeway, and everyone's going to expect Classic Causeway to come back. Right. We saw him come back badly in Florida. So why would you press Classic Causeway if you're Taba, if you're Messier, if you're Epicenter? Why would you do it?
Well, I was just going to say this. It might sound stupid, but does it matter if the drop change with Leparoux on the speed? I mean, it might sound stupid, but
he's not known for being overly
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
But he is on some of those turf races. Like,
well, you're not wrong
he does wire.
Let me know when they're running the Derby on turf.
That's fair.
Dennis throwing the shade on the Somich.
I'm Julian Leparoux, Dennis Trusty, that's his name. Go ahead and go after him. At Dennis Trusty on Twitter. By all means, send the hate that way. I don't think it's that big of a difference. And I realize Irad's pretty good at getting out of the gate, and I get all of that. But to me, I think the horse has broken so well. So I remember we were watching the Tampa Bay Derby, and we did do the live stream, and we're like, holy crap, the horse is a length ahead, 2 strides into the race. Yeah. And so it's like, I think Jared could probably break well on this horse. I'm not sure about Aaron, but Jared could definitely get this horse out of the gate.
Well, I definitely have my feet in the reins. I know that.
Well, listen, I would change tactics. Take it back for one run.
Okay, Joel. I don't have concern about it. I think Classic Causeway just possesses the most natural speed. And from the 17 hole, even if you don't break as sharp as you'd like, you got no choice.
Well, I just think the bottom line is I don't think he can win. But if there is a way he wins, it's by stealing it on the front end.
Yeah.
So you just go. Yeah. You just go, and you ultimately by all costs, right?
Yeah.
If it means running a 22 opening quarter or whatever it is, and 46, you're doing it. Because if you had a chance to win, you don't want to be like, well, put them behind horses. It's like, no, you're sending them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I said that just as the person on the, if somebody was asking a question.
Yeah, devil's advocate. It's a good point. You have a jock switch from Irad to anyone. It's a downgrade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a valid point from that perspective. But I don't see any way they don't just say, hey, we've got to bullet this horse out.
Yeah.
You know,
I
just
agree.
and again, I think we all kind of think that that's what's going to happen. They did interview Lynch, and it's trainer speak, but he said no, he doesn't have to go to the lead. We kind of like him to be outside of horses, just stalking him. It's like win what race ever, right?
You know what? If they do that and Messier gets the lead,
it's over.
It's over.
I mean, because let's be
Well, it's
honest,
okay, but passive.
Messier is the fastest of the horses inside
Yeah.
of Classic Causeway. To the inside horses. So the other ones obviously will be Summers Tomorrow. Epicenter has some speed, but I think Epicenter is kind of like your Midnight Bourbon speed from last year, where I don't think he's fast enough to actually get the lead.
Yeah.
If 17 doesn't break, Messier gets the lead. If Messier gets the lead and goes 46 to the half, good luck running him down late.
It's going to get scary for sure. Yeah.
And I really think when it comes to Tava, I think all he needs to do, as long as he doesn't, which he hasn't had issues, but he only had 2 starts, so I guess but as long as he doesn't balk at the gate or anything, you go back and watch Sanchez Derby, he breaks amazing, and he's really right there with Forbidden Kingdom early in that race, and you think for half a second like, oh, that's what. Because you kind of wonder going in, like, oh, he's going to go. Yeah. He's going to be the rabbit. And then,
sprint.
Yeah, Messier, he's going to and then it's like, oh, Mike's backing him off. Oh, well, then you think, well, something's wrong. No, he just was off the bridle. And so my point is that first run down the first time around in front of the grandstands, Taba, as long as he breaks okay, like Mike will get him. He'll be outside somewhat of some of the horses that, like you said, the early speed. I think Messier will go, and Taba should get the perfect placement. Sitting at like a chilly 3rd, 4th position. And frankly, from there, and that's ultimately why he's my pick, is because I think if you sit there at that point and see Taba in that catbird's kind of 3rd, 4th position, you're thinking, well, if he is who I think he is, this thing is over.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Even if Messier gets that setup that Somich is talking about, if Taba's in a similar distance behind him that he was in the San Diego Derby, it's still going to be hard to hold off Taba in that situation. So, and that's just it. And, with Taba, with any horse in this race, it's very logical to say, you got to get out of the gate. But with him especially, if he's got to get out of the gate, he's got to break like he did in the San Diego Derby. If he doesn't, him more than anybody else is in big, big trouble. But, like you said, he's broke sharply twice, and that's really good. That's a really good thought. And one thing that I saw some people bring this up in the chat, and we've talked about it lightly, Mike Smith is adamant about these starting gates are more narrow than they used to be. He's a small horse.
Yeah.
Messie's a big horse. Zandon's a big horse. Taba's pretty small. So if that is actually a thing, which I'm not ready to say that it is, but, Smith's been in there. I haven't. So if that's actually a thing, that's even more of a benefit for him.
We've got a lot of people talking about Charge It in the chat.
Yeah,
and I think it's relevant to bring up Charge It because Charge It had a lot of trouble in the Florida Derby. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he was goofy as hell, started his run, stopped his run, started his run, then weaved in and out on White Barrio. The start to me was something as well because he was kind of rocking the gate. He struggled a little bit to get out of the gate, broke the poorest we've seen. Does he actually factor into the pace if he breaks clean here? Is he the horse that kind of pushes up if he's able to get out of the gate? Because we did see him forwardly placed in the earlier races and the shorter races. He's got the speed to do it. If he breaks, do they push, especially considering the Pletcher also has Modonegal?
I'll answer it with asking a question that'll lead to the answer. When we were analyzing the Florida Derby, did you not think he would be on the lead in that race or close to the lead?
I thought he'd be a lot closer than he was.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think yes is the answer. Now, the flip side of it, if this gate thing is that actual thing, he's a huge horse.
Yeah.
This is one of the bigger horses in the race. So if he doesn't break well, that's an issue. I don't know. But yes, if he breaks well, Charge It should be more forwardly placed than we saw in the Florida Derby. That was just a nightmare from the beginning from him, really.
Well, I even thought another one, too. Anyone know what simplification is going to do?
Yeah. No.
No one knows. I would expect if he breaks clean, he's forwardly placed as well. I mean, I don't know if he's
not fast enough, but, it's kind of unknown.
He was a half length behind Classic Causeway in that Florida Derby, right? So he's got, if we're saying Classic Causeway makes the lead and simplification's like a half length behind, you got to think that he's going to be more forwardly placed too. And it's really what this is going to come down to from a pace perspective is how pressured that actual pace is going to be. Because the thing is that first quarter can be very fast. It's how slow is the second quarter? Do they slow down very much? Justify ran the second fastest, I believe, was opening half mile in the last 9 years or since they went to the point system. but went 111 to 3/4, right? And that's going to be the key. I expect the 22 and change opening quarter. If they run 110, 111, especially 111 through 6 furlongs, you got to be close to the pace to win this race.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing Charger. He has to do a ton of things to make this thing work. Now, it kind of goes – it's similar to Taba in a sense that if he does break and he's all of a sudden in that position we thought he might be in the Florida Derby, you're thinking, oh, like he doesn't have a lot of – he doesn't have a lot of issues to overcome in that case. He did run super green down the stretch, but he's certainly a horse that – like I put him in the top 5 in terms of talent level in the field. I think he's extremely talented. Charge it. I just think this might be a little too much too soon. So that's why I'm not ultimately using Charge It to win. I think underneath makes a lot of sense because I could see him running like a bang up race where it's like he gets 3rd or 4th or 2nd even if he runs but it's like you're like, oh man, he got like what if this because like just a lot for him to do. You got to remember Todd Pletcher. As many runners as he's got in this race, which has been the most of all time, he's only got 2 wins, and both those horses, Super Saver and Always Dreaming, were horses that were established horses that had ran in stakes races. Who were, obviously Always Dreaming had won the Florida Derby going into the race. Super Saver damn near probably should have won the Arkansas Derby, but he had won. I think he won the Jockey Club the year before that. But anyways, the ever established horses, Charge It. Just is kind of making that improve, and I get why they're running them. I don't fault them for running it. He should improve. I still think it might be too much to overcome.
He has to do a lot of things different instead of just one thing different.
There it is.
Yeah, that's my final thought.
I'm too green. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
I don't change leads well. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't break well. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't do all 3. All right. Now we got a lot of things to fix.
Oh, what's your next race? Oh, it's a Kentucky Derby.
Well, then you're in a race where you have to do all 3.
Yeah.
Big trouble. Yeah.
That to me that's why I'm not going to use Charge underneath. It's just, there's too many things to fix in too short of a window. If it was one of the 3, I agree with Jared. This could be a great Travers horse, right? Like this could be a great Breeders' Cup Classic horse if he develops throughout the year. There's enough talent there for this horse to do great things. Getting that talent figured out this quickly is going to be the problem, and then obviously making that talent progress if you want to actually win the Travers or Breeders' Cup. You got to improve all the way throughout the year and fix the issues you have.
And if it's raining too for him and he's still green like that, he's going to be in a disaster mode. So, but as of right now, he is my Belmont horse. I'll say it before he even runs 3rd, 4th, whatever.
Well, you can already see it on the wall. That's what they're probably going to.
Well, you think about the Belmont with this horse, and I agree. I think he'll be really good there. He's got a great pedigree for it, right? You think about breaking fast in the Belmont, not that big of a deal. They all kind of break in a bog. They can get him out there, and the Belmont is one a lot of times with a horse that just gets out in front and is really tough to pass. You look at Hot Rod Charlie last year, even though he went really fast, he damn near won the thing because he just got out there and win. And it took a monumental effort by Essential Quality to run that horse down. So anyway, I agree with Dennis. The chart is certainly looked much, much better suited for the Belmont at this time.
All right, so let's fast forward.
Until he runs 20th. And then maybe not. But.
We'll see, right?
Out of the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Right, yeah. The Classic and the Belmont are off the table.
These are all speculations prior to the Kentucky Derby.
Right, yeah.
At the time of recording.
Right, yes.
So let's fast forward to the top of the stretch.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, let's see. It gets exciting there, right? Barbaro's making his run right there. He's past Happy Jack. Can we do it?
I'm worried if Aaron would just run out there and just try to stop him.
I'm going to, yeah. If he gets up to 8th, I'm hitting the track. I'll be standing right there anyway. So.
I don't even want to know what happens if Barbaro runs off.
Well, there'll be
tomorrow, Saturday.
There'll be puke on the track if he runs first. So.
And there will be a lot of alcohol at my house.
Yeah.
Halterman I don't know if he'll be watching Barbaro or Taba more in the race.
We'll never see Barbaro, so I'm not worried about it.
You can probably watch both.
Well, that's true.
He'll finish, and then here comes Barbaro.
Yeah, there's Taba, and then look back. All right, there he is.
He comes.
Did he beat Happy Jack? Yeah, he did, barely. Okay, so the top of the stretch. Who's in the lead? Who's right there? Who's coming? Like, how do you see this thing? Again, assuming this race runs, semi-normal in terms of not a lot of traffic or bad breaks and things. Yeah, exactly. So how do you – is Classic Causeway, they hit the top of the stretch, They're into the stretch. Classic Causeway. Is he still there? Is Messier in the lead now? Like, who's in the lead? Is Epicenter now in the lead? Who's in the lead? Where's Taba? That to me is the answer, is the question, or the answer to the question, because that's going to help. I just, if Taba's right there in striking distance, I just don't see a way he loses, because that's my whole reasoning why I pick him, because I just don't. He sees a target, he's going to run him down. What?
Of course you think he's going to do it. You're picking him. I mean, if Taba's right there, he's going to run third.
Well,
yeah. Well, no, and then I do think with him, and that's why I didn't back Willem. I think he's first, or I think he's like 16th or something. Like he hits the top of the stretch and he's just, he's not. He's backing up, or if he's at the top. I just think he's an all or nothing horse.
As a public handicapper, he's kind of a hell horse to pick, but we went with him anyway because he can make you look really dumb. Like and I would imagine you would acknowledge, or anybody else who's picking him. I don't know who else, but Jared and I so far. But if he runs 15th, the Saturday night show is not going to be that fun, right? Because you just picked a horse that ran 15th in the Kentucky Derby, and you acknowledge that, it's certainly possible that he just is kind of a phony horse. But the other time, if he wins, it's just unbelievable, and you're going to get paid for it, and that's the big thing. But your question, top of the stretch, I think Messier takes over at the top of the stretch. I think Taba's in second, about the same distance he's behind, and I think Epicenter has taken a lot of mud on the inside, and here he comes kind of in third because he's on the rail. He's going to try to get out. I would envision Zandon's already made that move on the turn. I don't think he's like in third this time, maybe more like fifth or sixth, and then we'll just see how it shakes out.
Don't you think Whitebaro and Zandon are kind of in similar kind of placements in terms of where they're going, and maybe Zandon?
I think Whitebaro is more forwardly placed.
Yes.
So you think Zandon's behind Whitebaro?
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick on your Taba thing?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not playing Taba, if you're like, I hate this horse, play him on top of a cheap super.
Yeah.
With 3 horses you like below, or 4 horses you like below. Because I agree with Aaron. I think Taba is the most likely horse to either absolutely succeed or flop of the top contenders, because he's either going to run really well or going to be terrible. And if you hate him, put in a saver super that costs $24 with 1 horse over your 4 horses you like, because it'll pay if it happens, and you'll be kicking yourself if he wins and you run second, third, or fourth.
Right.
To answer Jared's question, Messier is going to be at the lead up top of the stretch. I think Simplification and Whitebaro are going to be close. I think Epicenter is going to be sitting on the rail behind there trying to find a way out. I think Taba is going to be sitting in like 6th right behind them. And I think Zandon is going to be making a move in 7th or 8th trying to find a way out. But I think Messier is by far the most likely horse to be ahead at the top of the stretch.
Yep. Which is always scary in the Derby, right?
It certainly bode well for the same connections or same jockey, sort of similar connections, when that's happened at the top of the stretch of the Kentucky Derby. Mm-hmm. John Velasquez sees the lead at top stretch, he ain't giving it up. So and ultimately that's why I was between Taba and Messier in my pick, because it was like, I expect him to be on the lead, and when the real running starts, and someone's going to have to run him down, can they? And that's ultimately the question, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think that honestly it's between at the top of the lane, Messier and Epicenter on the lead, because I think Joel will have to probably get aggressive at some point, besides just sitting. So, I don't know where Taba's going to be at all. I mean, that's just unknown. I think Cyberknife might be somewhere up in there too, because he made that middle move. And I mean, not saying that he's even got a shot to win the thing, in my opinion, but he made that middle move, and that's what it does take to make a run in the Derby. I don't really like him, like I said, but I mean,
it's fair that he could be up there, though.
Yeah.
You go back to the Augusta Derby, he kind of made that middle move a little bit to get in a better placement. Drew did with him. You remember that watching him on the back, whereas Secret Oath was going the opposite way. He's kind of got that placement, and then boom, she just couldn't, get to him. But he certainly, if there's any of the Cox horses you're worried about, it's Cyberknife, because even though I definitely do not like that Arkansas Derby or Oaklawn, any circuit, but he seems like a horse that's definitely improving at the right time.
So, Zozos for Cyberknife.
I'll go Cyberknife.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, I'm asking the question because I know someone at this table may not go Cyberknife. I would probably go Zozos, and I would, because of how bad I think the Arkansas circuit was, and the fact that if Epicenter is sitting on the board at 7-2 and Zozos who is an improving horse, ran second to him, is sitting on the board at 20+1. That seems a little wonky in my mind, especially since Zozos does have tactical speed. That like the 19th post isn't. I mean, it's a terrible post, and it's actually the 19 and 20 are worse than the 1 from a hitting the board perspective. They haven't won a Derby, I think, since 2008, 2012, and they've only finished on the board twice, respectively. So it's a bad draw. But Cyberknife sitting in the 16 is not that much better, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and Zozos has a chance to take a step forward in my mind and face a tougher group of horses last time out.
Literally, since I did that video on Zozos, everybody has contacted me and said, "Oh no, Cyberknife, he's working." And people that know, Cox have been like, "No, Cyberknife, he's the one. He's working out great." I'll stick with Zozos. I'm not gonna care about. I've never cared about workouts. I'm not gonna care about them. I'll stick with Zozos. I think he's a better horse coming into this.
I don't think either hit the board,
I don't really think so either.
but if I'm picking one, I would take Zozos as well.
All right, so let's talk some other horses that maybe that people are liking that will want to be betting come Saturday. I've seen a lot of it in the chat here with Mo Donegal, and I've also seen a little bit about Smile Happy. So let's go a match race between Mo Donegal and Smile Happy. Smile Happy doesn't have a lot to complain about this year. Yeah, he hasn't won, but he was also beat by Zandon and Epicenter, the two top choices of the Kentucky Derby. Smile Happy at one point, beginning of this year, was the Kentucky Derby favorite. So now you're getting the value on him that I require when it comes to playing McPeak. You're getting 20-1 morning line. Is this the race that he could finally break through, or is it? Are we finally? Do we just know what he is at this point? And maybe he's a horse that could run underneath. And then you have Mo Donegal. I think the wood was sneaky good. And if you like Zandon, you kind of need to like Mo Donegal, and he's back that up. Now the post doesn't favor him. The setup probably won't favor him. But as an underneath play, Mo Donegal makes a ton of sense for me. Thoughts?
I get the Smile Happy love. Like, people are talking about him. I just what was his excuse in the Bluegrass? Right? Go ahead.
His excuse in the Bluegrass was that he was first time ever closer to the pace. He's never been that close, and he was four wide as well. And Zandon looked like a freight train coming home.
Yeah.
He beat the crap out of the rest of that field. He ran well in the last furlong, even though he was four wide, and closer to the pace. I think that his Bluegrass was. I'd be interested to know what the thoroughgraph on the Bluegrass was for Zandon versus Smile Happy.
Look that up.
I bet there's not that drastically of a difference because, yes, Zandon won by a couple lengths, but Smile Happy was wide the whole time, and Zandon saved all the ground. So I think Smile Happy's last race was actually sneaky better than it looks on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got a 1.5 from Zandon, your winner of the race, and then Smile Happy got a 1.5.
So they got the same number.
They get the same thorough.
Wow.
So like I said,
Advantage Somich.
trip was not great for Smile Happy. And we actually
Until they run the race.
now, Aaron, if you ever take the time to check out the YouTube page for Racing Dudes,
Yeah.
I do.
we have a trip note on there about Smile Happy, and
I don't watch that guy.
that was actually that was part of his point. But
He's the worst one. Yeah.
You
Is
know
he
what?
one of us? No. One
But-
of us.
Wait,
One of us.
But here's the thing, like the White Bar thing. Listen to the owner, then go back and watch the replay. I went back and watched the Bluegrass again. I was like, you know what? That's better than I thought. And I love that the thoroughgraph. I had no clue, so I'm happy that worked.
Yeah, that worked well for you.
And they got the same number, and one is 20-1, and the other is 7-2, and you can argue, or 3-1. And you could argue that the 20-1 shot has more tactical speed in a race where you want more tactical speed.
Yeah.
Well, another issue I have with Maldonado is, all right, I mean, I know we were not supposed to be talking about odds, but so you're telling me the horse was supposed to be lower than 10-1 after drawing the one post? Like, you know what I'm saying with that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the odds was not supposed to be made before the draw,
Right.
but apparently they was, which is now I think the horse should
They
be
are.
15-1 instead of just 10-1. You know, so you're telling me it should be 6. You know,
The odds are the way they do it now. They kind of have to make the odds, which is, I mean, and John White says the same. He's like, it's ridiculous, but it's just they make the odds prior, and then you can deviate from that based off of their draw. You know, but I guess Taguieff is like, I drew the 1, but I'll leave him at 10-1.
So
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, but
Go
that
ahead.
would have helped if you would have said, "Hey, let's bump him to, whatever, 12-1." Well, Tabin all of a sudden can go down to 10-1, and so if you raise Mo Donegal up, Tabin can go further down. So it did dictate a lot of, like you're saying, some of the other odds.
So we're talking about a match race between Mo Donegal and Smile Happy, and we're thinking it's debatable who's better, right? I mean, it is debatable. I get your points. I'll take Fletcher and Irad over Lannery and McPeak if we're gonna do that. That'll be my decision maker there.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. You don't like Becker? I don't like Becker. No.
I'm interested to see if what money Mo Donegal takes on race day as well. Because I was someone who played No Agenda last year, and I bought into the fact that this new gate, the one post, it's not that bad. It's awful still. And I realize Mo Donegal is going to want to close, but that means that you're catching kickback from 20 horses. You're going to be the bottom last three, you're going to be 18th, 19th, or 20th going around the first turn. Now you got to work out a trip from there. I mean, to me, it's tough breaking out of that one hole. And I was there last year, and it was like, he has experience, I guess you could say. You could make that argument for it. And I like you, Jared, like the wood was good. This is one of the best renditions we've seen of the wood.
He actually won.
Yeah, I don't want to go in there and just be like, yeah, Mo Donegal's terrible. He's not. This was one of those horses where I was happy when he drew the one because it gave me a reason to chuck him out. Mm-hmm. And it's not because I dislike the horse. I dislike the post.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Do you like him at all? Like, will you be keying him at all underneath?
I'm not going to use him underneath.
I
think the one post is just
too much.
It's too much, especially for a dead closer. Like
it's hard.
It's just like I get you're going to save ground in the first turn, but man, that second turn is going to be a train wreck, and then you're going to have to pass so many horses. And if you just look at that traditionally, what's done well in this race, you got to be like a just dominant closer to be able to get up to the top four, not win the race, top four from that position, and everything has to go right. And like. To me, I'd rather take horses that I think are going to be used a lot less underneath. Because the other part of this, if you want to make, like, to me, Mo Donegal and Crown Pride, they're going to be used on everyone's super. Everyone is going to put those horses on their super. So you see 10-1 and 20-1. They're going to be like 4-1 in the supers. They're going to be that heavily
That's
played.
a good point.
Because everyone's going to talk about, well, I'm going to use one of the closers, and Crown Pride's coming over. It's the Japan horse. And when you have all that kind of stuff, you really see that kind of that money flow in, and that's going to be a big time issue.
Wow, you got some technical issues over here.
Dennis just disappeared. We're getting
Okay, so let's play. I want to play. I want to advocate with you, Somich, a little bit. I know you were on Teva, and then you've kind of obviously diverted to Messier a little bit. And I know I see a lot of people picking Messier here. And I know Halterman, you were on Messier for a little bit in the back and forth.
Sure.
So if we're envisioning Teva, and again, I was between Messier and Teva, so there's no fault in picking Messier.
Oh, thank you for not faulting my pick.
Well, you'll be faulted after Saturday, let me tell you.
Well, that's the funny part. Everyone will be except for the one horse that wins.
Well, when Crown Pride wins, we'll really be wondering what we're doing.
Russell will have a good day.
But if you if you assume that Teva is going to break fine and going to be in a great position, how is it that you think he's going to turn the tables, Messier, on Teva?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I don't think that Messier was fully cranked for the San Diego Derby. He needed to finish first or second, and I think they knew they were better for Forbidden Kingdom. So I don't think that there was any interest to be cranked there. And Messier, the plan was always to run one race and go to the Derby once they switched trainers, right? Mm-hmm. Teva, the breeder didn't want the horse in the race. The trainer didn't want the horse in the San Diego Derby. The only person that did was the owner. That was it. I think you saw 100% cranked Teva go out there and run a heck of a race against the Messier, who was under wraps late. I thought Messier was going to win that race heading into the stretch, and then Teva kind of turned it on in that last eighth of a mile, but Messier never really got pushed on in my mind to kind of go after him. To me, we saw Messier running a race to improve into the Derby, and we saw Teva running a race to make sure he got into the Derby. And I think that if you look at the two and you say, who's more likely to take a step forward, Messier is the answer, not Teva. Now, Teva could run the same race, and that may be good enough to win. But Messier has a race before this layoff that is good enough to beat Teva's last race in the San Diego Derby in my mind. And so if Messier can improve off his last, I think Messier is better than Teva, and I think Messier is more likely to improve.
Okay, thoughts?
It's hard to argue the points because I have a lot of respect for Messier. He was my top pick for a long time. And it's up. In this race especially, it's always scary when you turn from home and you have the lead, and Messier should have it. I just couldn't get the replay of that Santa Anita Derby out of my mind. And here's the deal. If he would have beat him barely, I would have thought, okay, he can turn the table. He beat him so easily. And it wasn't a bam, I hit the wire and then I'm done. He galloped out better than him as well. I just can't get over that fact. And I think John said it best. I can live with myself picking Taba and Epicenter wins because they're both good prices, so I can have savers to Messier and he wins. It's fine from a betting standpoint. And look, Messier won. I picked the horse that beat him. He didn't beat him this time. I can't live with myself picking Messier and then Taba beats him again. That's ultimately where I was at because I would just sit there and go, we just saw this. And I picked Messier again like an idiot, So, but I get all the points. I'm not going to argue. I think Messier will run a better race. The one thing I will say, I think there's a better chance Taba runs a better race this Saturday coming up than he did in the Santa Anita Derby. Here's why. Second time going long, and I don't think the horse really ran all that hard in the Santa Anita Derby. Mike Smith, if you can believe him, he said he just kind of ran in spots. And you could see it mid-stretch. It's like, yeah, he's going to finish second. What a good race. Then they just kind of asked him, and he just lowered the head and went and got him. And then he just eased back up after the wire. I think he's going to run better. And maybe that's where Somich and I differ and why the picks differ. He's thinking Taba's going to run that same race, and Messier's going to improve and beat him. I think Taba will run a better race on Saturday. And if he does, I think you would say it's over.
Yeah, I mean, if he improves off that,
Yeah.
they're in a lot of trouble. And if running in spots makes me concerned too, though. You can't run in spots in a 20-horse field. You can in a 6-horse field.
If you run when the jock asked and then turn it off when the jock asked to turn it up, that's the key to him.
If you're completely push button, yes. Then.
Now you look at his two races. Has he not been pretty pushed? But remember, we were live on his debut.
No, I remember.
And he was getting, we were like, ooh, he's in trouble. And they just went that and bam,
Yeah.
gone. Mm-hmm. And then in this race, we were standing at Keeneland. Now, you were on live again, obviously, during this race. He's on the backside. I said, Jared, I don't think he's going to run. Like, I think Happy Jack's going to beat him. I think he might finish last. And you're like, shit, I know. He looks terrible. Ask him to go a little bit. He got a little bit closer. Ask him to go a little bit around the turn. He gets a little closer. Ask him to go again. He passes him. I think he has a shot to be an absolute freak. Maybe he loses Saturday. Maybe he bounces and finishes 16th, and I look like an idiot. I got to pick the horse that I think is the most talented. I think it's him.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Where are you leaning at? Sorry, I'm a little choked up by that sentiment.
I know.
I'm so happy for my friend here because he's finally on the Taba.
At the odds right now, Taba, I have to take that horse as my top pick. But I really think it's really, if you're disregarding odds, I like Epicenter still, even though the 3-post sucks. If I was getting kind of crazy, I think that I would try to lean towards maybe a simplification. And I also like White Avario as well. Now, see if the Epicenter odds are still 7-2. I'm taking White Avario probably as a top pick.
Really?
Because that's 7-2 is too low on that horse, I think. But I'm doing it again. I'm taking a 15-14 post in the Derby where I absolutely hate that post. But, I mean.
So it is White Avario?
I think it's going to be White Avario as the main bet.
Let me ask you this, though. You like odds aside, you like Epicenter the best, right?
Yes.
What odds does he need to rise up to for him to be the top pick in the bet?
He's not getting there. I think it'll be 5-1.
He needs to be 5-1 for you?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair statement. Yeah.
That's a fair value, in terms of what he should probably be at to play. I agree.
Exotics and stuff, then I might just have to take him on top and do the thing with Zandon, like you were saying, and just roll a few horses underneath. But
Now I agree with this. With Truth Exposed here, the horse acts like he'd run himself to death to win, and that's talking about Taba, I assume. And I agree. And I think that's part of why we've seen this horse be so long to get to the track, and why we're seeing this horse with 1.5 workouts. I don't know what you'd call that blowout the other day. It wasn't official work, so I guess it's 2. But still, he's so fast and he's so talented, and he's so smart that he's going to try to win. He wins every race. He tries to win every race, and that's what kind of that's what gives me confidence, but it also gives me concern on. I don't know if he could win the Triple Crown. I don't know. I don't see him being a Justified type horse because he might run himself into.
I think there's 0 chance
being hurt.
Sherry wins the Triple Crown.
I think there's 0 chance he runs in all 3.
I would be surprised if he's in the
I just want him to win on Saturday.
Yeah, that's all I
And
care
I
about.
don't give a holy ass hell what he does after that. If he runs on wins on Saturday and he's 6-1 or higher, he can go to the farm and do his business the rest of his life, and I won't give one shit.
Sir,
I promise you that much.
So, question for you, Aaron and
Sure.
Jerry.
Okay.
Taba 6-1, Messi is 10-1.
Well, that becomes a lot trickier, right? But I still will take Taba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Okay,
if Taba goes to where it's like 4-1, then you're getting into that territory.
I don't think it's gonna be that low.
No.
Yeah.
So that's I was going to ask that question. So that's good. Like, what are you thinking? What are we thinking as far as 4 minutes to post, because you're going to have to put your bet in unless you're online. But for us there, if you're betting at the window, you're going to have to get your bet in a decent time. What odds are you playing? What odds do you think you're going to be sending it in on Messier, or where are we going to be sending it in? Because, by the way, I saw it earlier. Yes, Taba is going to be a part of a very large wager for me. And so, yes, I will be hammering him. And what odds are we going to get on these horses?
I predict 6-1 on Taba.
I think 8.
8?
Yeah.
I think 6 to 8 is the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You're
You
best at odds. So.
I think you're going to get between 5 and 6-1 on Taba. The steam has just started on this horse now, and it's tough when the steam starts for it to stop. And I think you may see Taba. I think you might get 5-1 on Epicenter based on the way because Epicenter seems to be the one who is garnering the least respect as you look around betting markets that are international and betting markets here in the U.S. that are fixed odds. Epicenter is the horse that seems to be floating up. It's Zandon, who seems to be is going to be your favorite. I'd expect 3-1, 7-2, somewhere in that range. I think you're going to see Epicenter and you're going to see Taba vying for second choice. I think it's going to be Epicenter at like 5-1 and Taba sitting at maybe 5.5-1, 6-1. I think you're going to get 8-1 or so on Messier. I think that's kind of where your top four are going to fall.
I think that's fair.
Well, I mean, just to say, too, I don't know how much you all take into it. I know the one comment on there that says Mattress Mac will be on whoever. If he hits that horse hard, that's becomes dangerous.
Yep.
I think I saw 4 million is the plan.
Well, I got really into this last year because he bet 6 million last year, but he spread it out across 4 pools. So it didn't affect the win pool as much as I expected because it ended up being a $2 million win bet, but he bet large doubles. He bet both in the Oaks Derby double, large doubles in and out of the Derby. So he spread it out properly, not to crush his own price in one specific pool. So I don't expect a $4 million win bet. I would expect 4 million through the horse, but it's going to be spread out across a plethora of different ways to do it to be able to give himself the best chance to be profitable, right? So you play, $200,000 exacta with that horse on top of 3. You're playing $1 million double, Oaks Derby double into that horse. You're playing $1 million to $2 million to win on the horse, and then you're taking the rest and playing doubles in the race in and out of it. So I don't think
so. It all goes through the horse, but it's not all on the nose of the horse.
It's all on the nose, but it's not on just that one nose.
Right.
If you're adding in some more noses, you can spread out your risk, right? And also to make it so that your payout is closer to what a true or fair odds should be.
So who is that horse? Zandon, you think?
It's been rumored to be Zandon in Epicenter. I think it's Zandon based on everything that everyone has said. I haven't officially heard who it's going to be.
Yeah,
he did run a promotion this year. That was the other part of it. Last year he ran a promotion, and it was like if you bought a mattress and the favorite wins the Derby. So then he was definitely on Essential Quality because the favorite was going to be Essential Quality pretty much the whole time. I'm not sure if he ran the same promotion, but last year the reason for the bet was he ran a promotion. You get a free mattress if the favorite wins the Derby. Yeah. And we knew who the favorite was going to be. That's why everyone knew where the money was going to go. So that's the kind of backstory there on Mattress Matt.
All right. Time has come.
Let's do it.
I think we kind of know now. Right?
Let's just make it official.
Final. Lock them in. Start with you, Halterman. Final Kentucky Derby pick. Who is it?
It's Taba. I went into the John White interview kind of on the fence about the two, and it's not that he can convince me even with the points of, hey, he's beaten Messier and this and that. I already knew all the factors, but just having him talk about it and just logically sitting down and saying, look, if you don't pick Taba and you want to pick him and you pick the horse that he beat and he beat easily, and then he beats that horse again, you're going to lose sleep for months over it, right? And then if you pick Taba and Messier beats him, it's like, well, I picked the horse that beat him, so, what can you do? I liked Messier, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the horse I think is the most talented. I don't – and you're going to get 6-8-1. I have to take Taba.
I would say I like White Barrio. I said that. One other thing I forgot to mention that scares me too is Saffie Joseph training outside of Florida, outside into a big race. I forgot to mention that. But for right now, I think he's probably the most peaked horse out of all of them because, that Florida Derby was just so impressive to be closing wide in both turns. And, I guess I'm more comfortable with, Aaron's taking the most talented horse route. I'm taking the horse that I think can overcome a bad trip route. So
That's fair.
That's certainly him.
yeah.
He can make his own.
And he's shown that he's pretty versatile,
So I think that's what. Oh, well, you know what? Since this might be my only time on here, I'm taking a super all with all.
Well, that's going to cash.
All right. That guaranteed winner from Dennis Trusty.
And also guaranteed his first and only appearance on Blinkers Up.
20 times, 19 times, 18 times. That's just $116,000.
We've got a bunch of people
But
in the chat. We'll just donate.
But it will cash.
It will cash. It's the question of how much you lose.
Well, it was great having you on, Dennis.
You're doing so good.
Yeah. All right. Somich.
All right, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. if you're gonna tell me you're gonna play a super, you're out. You're done.
No, I'm gonna actually wheel. No, I'm kidding. So, look, I'm gonna take Messier because I think Messier is more talented than Teba is. I think Messier is more ready to be the best horse right now than Teba may be. I think they're about the same talent-wise. I'm gonna take Messier on here. I think he is going to improve off that last race. I also think that he has the ability to get the lead here and be tactical if he is able to. I don't think there's going to be a fast pace. I think he's going to be lead at the top of the stretch. I don't think he's going to have he doesn't have as high of a chance of trip trouble to me as Teba does. So I'm going to go with Messier, and I am going to, and actually, I'll let you pick, and then I have a question first.
Well, I wanted to say that I think in your case, and honestly both of our cases, in terms of Teba and even White Abario, you can kind of trust at this point a little bit that you're going to at least get a run. But when it comes to Messier, and I love this kind of horse. Like, I love picking horses like Messier because you know what you're going to get.
Yep.
And then it's just like, you know what? You can kind of, it's like you can live with it if he just gets ran down. Like, he just wasn't good enough or whatever. But it's like top of the stretch, and you play, you're the tournament guy. Obviously, you do extremely well in the tournaments. So you play a lot of speed horses because that's obviously key. And sometimes with long shots, like, at least like, hey, top of stretch, I had a shot. That's what you're looking for. And Messier is going to give that to you. And frankly, Teba should be right there. And it kind of is what ultimately I've been on Teba. I picked him to win the Cincinnati Derby. And I'm staying on him. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, listen, top of the stretch, I think he'll be right there. Now, is he good enough? We'll find out. Did the Cincinnati Derby take too much out of him? We'll find out. But the whole, is he too lightly raced? Is the traffic going to be concerned? Like, I just don't buy any of that because I think as long as he breaks well, he all of a sudden needs to beat 3 horses versus needing to beat 19 horses. And that's like, okay, great. That didn't matter anymore. Justified, I don't think he's as good as Justified yet. We'll talk about, we'll see, I guess. But Justified didn't have to worry about anything when he got to that race because he went to it broke and he had 1 horse in front of him early in the race. That's all. He had passed 1 horse and then he just ran. That's what he did. And frankly, that's what he did in all his races in the Triple Crown, really. So it wasn't that hard for him because he didn't. The inexperience factor didn't really come into play. So that's how I see Teba. Messier, I think is the danger there. Those are the 2 horses I'm most on. But Teba, I'm locking it in, man. I love this horse, and I think he's gonna win.
I will be shocked if Teba runs second to Messier. That's what I'll say. Will I be shocked if Messier wins? Absolutely not. But if Teba is second in that race, I will be dumbfounded.
I think that's a very fair.
Dumbfounded's too strong. I will be very surprised if Teba
has him in his sights and can't get to him.
That's the way to put it. Maybe he runs second because it's just an awful trip or something. But if they turn, I'll put it this way: if they turn for home and Teba's within 2 lengths and he's had a decent trip, I just think he'll get him.
Chris, this horse is not Rock Your World.
No, it's not. No.
I hate that we see that. It's because it's recent, and it's like because he was a horse that won the Cincinnati Derby that shouldn't have won the Cincinnati Derby, and he won gate to wire, and he stole the pay. There's 1,000 reasons.
You would admit he's not Rock Your World.
No, Forbidden Kingdom was Rock Your World.
Yeah,
Yeah. He literally was Rock Your
That's
World,
your
right?
cup.
Yes.
Yeah, just after the race earlier.
Yeah.
He's not.
I mean,
He's not.
and to be fair, like, yeah, he could lose this race for sure,
Absolutely.
but he's not Rock Your World. This
What?
horse is extremely talented.
So, and just now we have a winner. That's your winner. You only pick the winner if your horse won the race.
Okay.
Is anyone singling the Derby in the Derby Oaks double or in a pick 5?
We used.
Well,
give that away.
okay. But we did not single.
I didn't sing. I'm only using the Bessie and table. But like,
Same.
I'm not.
Hey.
So I
There's more in the our double going in.
There's more.
But what I'm saying is, like, I like Taba as well. I actually like White Abario as well. It's another horse that I'm going to be using on all my tickets because I think White Abario makes a ton of sense. I'm not going to use him in. I think it's going to be hard for White Abario to win. I think you got to use White Abario underneath. So I want to put that out there as well. That, like, I think that both these horses have a legit shot to win.
Messier and Tabor are the two horses in the race.
Kind of important.
It's
horse
not
race,
even
isn't it?
close, really. It's really not
That's it.
close.
Yeah.
Like,
So the other deal is, if Taba wins, he's not going to be upset. If Messier wins, we're not going to be upset. Because we have backup tickets. We have ways to cash with those two
Oh,
horses.
you'll be upset that a effort won.
I won't.
I will
That's the
not.
thing. If Taba wins, I don't care. Money is money. That's where
No,
I'm.
no, no,
That's
no.
where I'm at with this whole Baffert thing now. To throw this out here real quick, I don't give a shit about who's training these horses anymore. As long as they show up and they're ready. I always care about the bets.
Look, man, you bet with your head, not with your heart.
Yeah.
Do I
Well,
want
yeah.
Do I want Baffert to win a Derby? No. But you know what? If he does, I'm not gonna lose money because I know what's going on. Like,
Well
come
said.
on, like, you know, if it's, to me, it's like, if you look, you bet with your head, not with your heart.
Well,
Bet with the horse you think's gonna win, not the
Yeah,
horse
hey.
you want to win. There's a difference, right?
End of the day, Baffert ain't winning this Derby.
That's true.
his name will never be on anything if they win. So
Dennis
that's
looked at me like, you're an idiot. Yes, he is.
Just out of curiosity, you guys make anything out of Baffert's #1 exercise rider has been riding Messier all week? The #1 groom is out here with Messier.
It's odd. For sure.
he's got.
I mean, Joel Rosario galloped.
Tavis.
Tavis.
That was even crazier. What's
Yeah.
going on?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Welcome to California.
Yeah.
Epicenter's thinking, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I get that it's like it's horse racing. The horses don't give a shit, but still, it's weird if
Yeah.
you're like Asphyx and you're like, really?
What you doing up there?
What are you doing, man?
Yeah,
Yeah, like what are you trying to do? You know?
I
So-
wouldn't. I wouldn't. If I'm the owner of Taba, I wouldn't want another jockey on there. I want as little information for Joel Rosario going into that race, and to work Taba gives you some idea of how the horse moves, how he works, what he likes, what he doesn't. Like, I was shocked they did that.
Yeah.
Well, the whole Yaffer thing is it just throws everything a little bit off because it's nothing's normal. No, Baffert wouldn't have ran a blowout on Wednesday. You know, that's not something he would have done. And we would have heard 1,000 other things about how good these horses are because Baffert wouldn't have shut up and he would have been in the media a ton. And so it's weird. All of it is, you know, Messier, the fact that, you know, and you got to think if Baffert was a trainer, both Messier and Taba would be on the morning line and be lower odds.
100%
Oh yeah, they'd probably be favorite, wouldn't they? Or like
close to it.
Taylor definitely would be.
Certainly after the betting starts on, you know,
So in that
on Friday.
regard, thank God he's not here. Right?
Take
Yeah.
advantage of it,
Yeah,
right?
I
Take
mean-
advantage of it. Because these horses, I mean, you know, I get Taba and Messier weren't trained by Baffert heading into the Santa Anita Derby. Weren't officially trained, I should say.
You know who was a favorite in the San Diego Derby? I think Forbidden Kingdom went
Yeah.
off the favorites.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what you think about that? That's crazy. But anyway,
All right,
wrap
that's a wrap. We all are on. No, never mind.
it up.
Wait,
Taba.
no, wait,
White
no.
Abario.
Well, hey, no, we are on.
We all
Yeah.
have O with the sort of side.
No,
You-
no.
I thought you changed the echo.
No, I said
No, he was
Echo's
kidding
the
around.
second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We're all on the
Take
O.
the jinx out of it.
We're all on the O. We all have we have two Tabas, a White Abario, and a Messier on top. That's the picks for the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingnews.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News Premium at the menu button at racingnews.com to learn more. Remember, go get the inside track to the 2022 Kentucky Derby Wager Guide. It is now available. It's 28 pages. All the guys who do are great, but this is probably the best guy we've ever done. Top 4 picks from all the team at racingnews.com for all the stakes tomorrow, Friday, and of course Saturday as well. Oaks, Derby coverage, all that. The bankroll article Halter and I do together, that's in there. You've got horse capsules for every single horse that we talked about in the Kentucky Derby. All 20 are in there. Kind of get an idea of who these horses are, what's good, what's bad, kind of our final thoughts on them. And then again, the consensus picks are huge. All that available at racingdudes.com on the products page. Go get the wagering guide right now. Remember, you can find us on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. All our episodes of Blinkers Off are on our podcast page at racingdudes.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our YouTube channel, Racing Dudes our YouTube /Racing Dudes. You can find all our podcasts, all our live shows. Dennis, hit him with your Twitter handle real quick.
It's Dennis @ or wait, I'm
Screwed that up.
I believe I know what it is. At Dennis _Trusty, right?
yeah.
Okay, well.
What? See, you threw me on the spot. Like brain just malfunctioned for like what?
Speed and fade, Dennis.
Yeah.
Faded late.
I played
Classic
Causeway, right there. Classic Causeway. Thank you for joining the show. All right, guys. If you're going to be at the Derby and Oaks, hit us up. Somich. Are you going to the Oaks and Derby tomorrow? No. Okay. Somich, and Halterman will be there with our rain jackets on tomorrow. Saturday we'll be there as well. So make sure you hit us up and offer us free beer. We'll talk to you if you offer us free beer. I do anyways. I don't know.
All the alcohol is free or will be.
Well, as long as they go. That's true.
I'll talk to this guy. I'll talk to anybody.
That's true.
Come on, hit me up.
Sure, you went to Roosters with the guy. So.
Yeah, we went to Roosters with Dennis.
Literally all the alcohol is free.
So we'll talk to anybody. We'll
buy you a drink.
Hey, that's fine. As long as someone goes and like hands me a brewski, that's fine. Like I'll just hand me it and I'll talk to you about something. We'll talk about the Derby. We'll talk about the Oaks. We'll be there again Friday and Saturday. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. He's at Dennis _Trusty, right?
Yeah.
He's Mike Somich. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you at the Oaks and Derby. Good luck, guys.
Watch her be cursed.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,